Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we will be discussing Elseworlds, Hour 2, from Season 7, Episode 9 of Arrow. So this episode opens up a little bit differently. We get the Arrow credits, but instead of Stephen Amell as Oliver, we get Grant Gustin placing the Oliver character doing the Arrow credits. So it's kind of a funny little sort of reference. I wish we kind of would have gotten Stephen Amell doing the Flash credits for the last episode. So it's just kind of a funny little Easter egg thing to throw in there to really kind of sell that, Barry and Oliver have switched places and lives. So this episode opens up with, Diggle and Argus trying to take down, I guess, Slade Wilson's son. And then, of course, the trio, Barry, Oliver, and Kara, come in to help, or to get Diggle's help. And, Diggle kind of calls out, anytime the three of you are around, there's always some kind of big trouble. And Diggle kind of cracks me up. He calls out, he calls out the past crossovers. He said something about, Egyptian gods and aliens and Earth X Nazis, but he's never, heard of the life switching thing. So Diggle kind of cracks me up. He's funny. And we get them, bringing in Felicity to help out with this problem of the red lightning. We kind of got a reference in the last episode. There was red lightning over Central City. Now it's over Star City. And so they want to try and figure out how that's connected to Barry and Oliver's situation. And I love Barry trying to pretend to be Oliver with Felicity, like not knowing what to say. It's really funny. Pretending to be Oliver with his dark personality, but not really knowing what to say. It's funny. And the real Oliver makes the choice not to tell Felicity what's going on. And so the three of them decide to go off to Gotham City. And Oliver, doesn't think the Batman is real. He thinks it's a myth. And, of course, Barry's kind of like a little bit of a fanboy about the Batman. So the three of them go off to Gotham City, and it's at nighttime. And they, kind of discover the bat symbol. And we get a little interesting moment here with Barry and Kara kind of slut-shaming Oliver a little bit. Oliver mentions Vesper Fairchild, and, Barry says, oh, let me guess, you slept with her. And Oliver's like, I don't remember. And, they kind of slut-shame Oliver a little bit, which is, not cool. I mean, Oliver was, the billionaire playboy. And so it's sort of, they treat it like, it's just, he's the billionaire playboy, it's to be expected, but, how gross that is. But it's really not that cool, like, if this was, to flip the gender roles, then they'd be slut-shaming Kara or something. And so, let's not slut-shame Oliver about who he slept with. And, of course, Barry mentions that Oliver cheated on his girlfriend with his girlfriend's sister, which is, I think, a callback to Laurel and Sarah, but it's played for a joke, but, let's not slut-shame people. And then, of course, we get Kara and Barry, like, in the daytime, the next day, wandering the back alleys of Gotham. And I just thought, did they, like, spend the night in a hotel room or something, or what happened there? But then they get arrested, which is kind of a funny scene, and, they're in jail, and I like that Barry's like, I just tried to handle it like you, and Oliver's like, I was trying to handle it like you, and Kara just kind of comes in and keeps things in perspective a little bit. She's like, neither of you were going to handle it properly. What I would have done is just sped us out there. They would have never seen anything. So I like Kara just kind of, keeping things in check and, being sort of the level-headed one. And then, of course, they get out. They're bailed out by Kate Kane. And so we get introduced to Kate Kane / Batwoman. And she's, of course, at the Wayne Enterprise Tower. And so they go there, and she tries to help them with their case so that they can kind of get out of Gotham City. So it's a nice introduction to Kate Kane. This is the first time that we saw her, and she has her own show now, but this was the first introduction to the Batwoman character in the CW, of course played by Ruby Rose. I like the introduction here. I like Ruby Rose here. The Batwoman show, that's a little bit different, but I really like how they use her here, and the Batwoman costume is pretty awesome looking. And so, she wants to help them out, and then they're always on the rooftop, and I'm like, why are they, she says, oh, this is the only place in the building you can use. I'm like, that's the only place is the rooftop? Where are they going to sleep again? But anyway, so, these practical things are always in the back of my mind with these superhero shows. But anyway, so then we cut back to, Felicity helping the team, and we bring in Cisco and Caitlin, and they kind of spill the beans that, what happened with Oliver and Barry, and Felicity, kind of freaks out a little bit, and she takes it personally. She thinks, oh, because Iris could tell the difference, that she should have been able to tell the difference. And I like Diggle kind of keeps it in perspective also. He's like, something strange is going on. Don't take it personally towards your relationship with Oliver. So, poor Felicity, but we get a good talk between her and Caitlin, which I like. And I don't watch Arrow, so I don't know what was going on. I think, Iris at one point mentioned Oliver was in prison, so maybe that put a strain on their relationship. So, I feel bad for Felicity and Oliver, but we'll come back to that, I think in the last episode we'll get back to that. But then we get, Barry comes back from, trying to talk with Vesper, and she hung up on him. And then so Kara's like, I'll just do a flyby and x-ray the city. And, she ends up going to talk to Kate instead, and they have a talk, about, their cousins, their famous superhero cousins, and, just kind of a girl talk. And I like Kate kind of flirts with Kara a little bit, and Kara just kind of doesn't know how to handle that, and she just kind of giggles. I thought it was cute. I think Kara's cute sometimes, and it was a funny moment. And of course, Kara straight up just asks her, hey, do you know who John Deegan is? And Kate's like, yeah, he works at Arkham Asylum. And it's like, oh, it was that easy. You could just asked her in the first place. So then that takes us to, then we get the Red Lightning. They figure out what the Red Lightning was, that it was, Earth 90 Flash trying to break through the breach. And he kind of gives them a message about how they need to get the book. So then Team Flash, Barry, Oliver, Kara, Caitlin, and Cisco, they all go to break into Arkham Asylum. And I like that, they kind of take Caitlin in, they're admitting her Killer Frost into Arkham, which is kind of a cool little reference. And then, of course, we see the cells, the prison cells all lined with classic villain names like Oswald Cobblepot, Pamela Isley, names like that. So it's kind of a cool little Easter egg for all the Batman villains, which is fun. And then we get, a scene where they finally confront the John Deegan character, and he said, and they want him to switch their lives back, and he says, why would I do that? And that's where he kind of admits that, he meant to switch himself into Barry's life, and he just didn't know how to use the book. And that's how Barry and Oliver ended up crossing their lives. So then John Deegan, opens all of the prison cells, and he escapes. And so all of the Arkham criminals are out. And so they have to fight them and put them back in their cells, and then we get I don't think they said her name, but it's a girl who's trying to find like a cryo something or other because she needs to be cold or something, and then she grabs Victor Freeze's ice beam and she goes up against Killer Frost. I'm assuming maybe she's related to Victor Freeze, but I don't know for sure. But it actually kind of is an interesting thing because she's going through all this stuff. And she accidentally pokes one of the nitrous cans, and it shoots out at Killer Frost. But it was clearly an accident, and then Killer Frost is like, oh, you bitch. And then that's how they get into the fight. When it was just kind of an accident to begin with. She was very clearly panicked, and so it kind of just escalated really quickly. But then we get them breaking these sort of vials that makes Barry and Oliver hallucinate. And so Barry and Oliver start fighting each other, but they think they're fighting each other's enemies. So Barry, as the Green Arrow, thinks he's fighting Malcolm Merland, and Oliver, as the Flash, thinks he's fighting Reverse Flash. And it's interesting because each of these villains kind of, taunts them and gives them some information, oh, this is why you're not good enough, and that sort of stuff, and, talks about their pasts. And so it's kind of a way for Barry and Oliver to kind of better understand each other and what each other has gone through. So it's a good way to kind of bring them a little bit closer and kind of just understand each other better and why each other is the superhero that they are. So I like that scene a lot. And then, of course, Batwoman kind of comes in and kind of finishes things up, and she helps them, get all the criminals back. And it's a really cool scene where Batwoman just drops down on the top of her, and she's using all the Bat gadgets. So I like how they use Batwoman in this episode a lot. I think the action's pretty solid. I think it's, kind of better than some of the stuff we get on the Batwoman show. And then we get a little scene with Batwoman and Kara, and, they say, we could have made a great team, and Batwoman says, world's finest. which is, a shout out to both the comic book World's Finest and also the episode World's Finest, which is where the Flash crosses over in season 1 of Supergirl. So that's kind of a little cool Easter egg there. And then we get the Earth 90 Flash finally is able to break through, and they meet him. And, Barry gets a funny little moment. He's like, "Oh, Jay?" And then the Flash is like, "No." He goes, "Oh, Dad?" And he's like, "No, I'm Barry Allen." And so that's kind of a funny little moment. But Earth 90 Flash kind of explains who the Monitor is. And then they all try to, go off to fight the Monitor. Earth 90 Flash disappears. And the Monitor says, he's here to prepare the Earth for the crisis and to test them. And then he kind of takes the book back to John Deegan and he says, "Do better, think bigger." So John Deegan opens the book again, and then we get, a whole nother, universe where Barry and Oliver end up as the Trigger Twins, and then the episode ends with an evil black-suited Superman coming down to face them. So this is a good episode. This one is also a lot of fun. This is the Arrow episode. It's very dark like Arrow. We go to Gotham. We get, more of the Arrow characters, but we also get more Kate Kane / Batwoman than I thought we did. I had misremembered a little bit of this, but I really like her in this episode. Again, I think they used her well. Can't wait to see how they use her in the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. So I like all the stuff they did here, and I liked her and interacting with Kara a lot. I want maybe a little bit more of her and Oliver interacting, since, Batman and Green Arrow, or at least what they've done with this Green Arrow character, is very Batman-like. So I want to see them interact a little bit more. But I really like this episode a lot. We get, it's kind of nice to see Gotham City. It's nice to go to a new place. We get more of Gotham City, obviously, on the Batwoman show. But it's really fun going to Arkham Asylum. We get a crazy villain that has this gold mask on top. I think his name's Pirate something or other. And we'll see him again at the end of the next episode, briefly. So it's fun seeing the villains. It was fun going to Gotham. I like, we get a lot of the Felicity Oliver stuff in this. And, of course, we'll see how that pays off, in the next episode. But, yeah, I really like this episode. Still, the confusion between Barry and Oliver is still funny. I like how Kara handles the two of them. Kind of like their, her younger sibling brothers that are fighting. It's really funny. And so, yeah, this is a good episode. I think, I like the first episode of Elseworlds. And I like this episode of Elseworlds. I can't tell you which one's my favorite, though, because they both do different things. I might lean towards this one, because it does have a lot of good little funny moments, but also it has everything with Batwoman and Arkham, and all that stuff's really great. And then, of course, the Earth 90 Flash stuff, we get a little bit of that in here. And I believe he comes back also for the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, so we'll see more of him. We don't get a whole lot of Monitor in this one. We'll get more of the Monitor in the next episode. But, yeah, so I think my favorite part about this episode, my favorite moment, I want to say probably is when Barry, Kara, and Oliver, just everything with Barry, Kara, and Oliver in Gotham City is my favorite stuff. I forgot to mention my favorite moment from the last episode is probably that Kent Farm scene with Barry and Oliver training and talking to each other. That was a great scene from that episode. So, yeah. And also, I do love the Barry and Oliver fighting in Arkham and hallucinating Malcolm Merlyn and Reverse Flash. That's a great fight scene also. And, of course, it appears that they're fighting each other, but they think, they're fighting their enemies. So that's a really great scene, too. So just everything in this episode just really, there's just so much going on. There's so much Easter eggs. I'm sure a lot of the comic book fans, were able to point out a lot of stuff. So this might be better than the first Elseworlds episode, but right now it's probably a tie, because I really do love a lot of that comedy of when they first figure out they've switched lives. It's pretty hilarious. But all the stuff in Gotham here is great. And it's a great introduction to the Batwoman character. And, of course, this is Batwoman, Kate Kane as Batwoman, where in the Batwoman show, it's a prequel to her appearance in this episode. It's her becoming the Batwoman. So I'm curious how the show will sort of tie into or lead up to her crossovers. So we'll have to wait and watch the show and see on that. And then, of course, the ending where, we get Superman in the black suit and we'll figure out, what's going on with that the next episode. So, and then also we get, when Barry and Oliver are the Trigger twins, we get 3 cops that come up to arrest them. They're all Arrow villains. One of them is Malcolm Merlyn. One of them is the Deathstroke's son character from the beginning of the episode, and then one of them is another character I don't know of. But I know he's an Arrow villain. So that's kind of funny seeing them as the cops trying to arrest the Trigger twins, Barry and Oliver. So that was a funny scene. Yeah, this episode really kind of just leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger, and it really just, picks up from the last episode and just, takes things forward, and I like this episode a lot. So I can't say any more good stuff. That's all my thoughts on this episode for now. So stay tuned for the next episode of Elseworlds, Hour 3. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next crisis. Thank you all for listening. Here are my thoughts on the current episodes of The Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman. Follow me over on the Stardust app at Crashly87, CRASHLIE87. For those bookworms out there, check out my blog, Fantastic Literature, link in the description below, for book reviews, short story reviews, and general thoughts about the literary industry. And if you like the podcast, be sure to follow, like, and share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.